In this section, we're going to discuss the idea passing by value. This is concerned with the initialization of parameters. From the previous section, we learned that arguments are specific values that an invoking piece of code specifies or supplies to the called or invoked method. The invoked method receives a copy of those values from the caller. A parameter is a local variable. Just like any other variable we've defined in the main method, a parameter is a similar local variable with the exception that its initialization is done by the method invocation. Normally, a programmer initializes a local variable either by assignment, input, or some computation. A parameter, again, is initialized by copying the invoking method's arguments into those parameter variables, so they now have the proper values as the invoked method begins its execution. Since the parameter is a copy of the argument, modifying the parameter value isolates the change to that method. In other words, it stays very local. The invoking codes variable is not affected because the method has a copy of it. And we can change the copy, but that does not change the invoking code's argument value. Assume a method, we're calling it times2. It takes one parameter, an integer. We're calling it n. So n will be a local parameter variable. That means it's initialized differently than a local variable. That's the only difference. We're assuming the invoking code, we're calling times2, passing it an argument value of 21. We're going to assign the returned value of times2 to the variable called doubled. The body of times2 has declared a local variable called m as type integer, and it's assigned the value 2 as a literal. In the code body, we don't see n being initialized. Well, that's because it gets a copy of the invoking method's argument value. We don't see specific initialization code. The compiler does that for us. We can assume once we're in the body of the times2 method that the parameter variable n has already been properly initialized. So we can go ahead and just use the variable as we do. We say return n plus plus times m. If you remember my discussion on the postfix operator for the increment, n is resolved to its value first. So in this case, we're calling times2 with the argument 21. N will have the value 21 copied into it. That means n will be 21 times m. M is 2. So 21 would get doubled to 42. After n is resolved and the value 21 is taken, then the increment occurs. So n now is value 22. The method ends because we come to the closing curly brace. The method body is finished. The value 22 in that local variable is destroyed. However, the value 21 times 2, 42 is returned. That means the variable doubled has the value 42. And even though n was incremented, the change is lost. It was localized to the method terminated, it's gone. Think of this, parameters are a one-way flow of data into a method. Only one piece of information can ever come out of a method, and that's the returned value. As I said in the previous section, the type of the method is defined. Times2 has type int. That is by definition. However, what it returns is by computation. Had we passed the number 2 as the argument value, 2 doubled would be 4.